What's up, my people? We're back for episode 33 of Banter from the Bench podcast here. We have a little bit of a lighter schedule today, actually. Usually we've got a ton to dive into, but it's just kind of that time of year. We've got the NBA Conference Championship games. We'll talk a little bit about Pacers Knicks and as well as Oklahoma City and Minnesota Timberwolves. We're going to dive into some college sports. So we're going to talk about college baseball. Regional play is about to start, and then the Women's College World Series. The Blackhawks have hired a new coach, so we'll dive into that a little bit. And then, of course, the other teams that we discuss. We'll talk a little bit about the Bulls, and we've got plenty of updates with the White Sox prospects. So, Sean, let's get ready to roll, man.
Sounds straight.
Yeah, ready to jump back into it here. We got, NBA and NHL conference finals going on, but truthfully, I feel like both have kind of been not super exciting, minus Pacers and Knicks, even though that's a 3-1 series. We're not even really planning to talk about hockey today, but as we record this, I'll just give a little teaser. It's 3-1 lead for Edmonton over Dallas and a 3-1 lead for the Panthers over the Carolina Hurricanes. Only thing of note with the Hurricanes is they ended a conference finals losing streak. They lost like 15 conference finals games in a row, and they finally ended that streak. But it's looking like we're going to get a Stanley Cup rematch from last year, so it'll be curious to see how that shakes out. Obviously, series has to finish out beforehand, but it is certainly looking that way. So let's dive into the NBA Conference Finals, and I talked a little bit about the Pacers Knicks kind of being the most exciting of the all four series, in my opinion. Kev, what are your thoughts on the Pacers Knicks series so far, with the Pacers currently being up 3-1 over the Knicks as we record this?
I mean, a little surprising, right? Like, we talked about how hot the Pacers were throughout most of the playoffs. They took down the Cavs as a 1 seed, even though Cavs were injured. They still beat them in 5 games. So Pacers just continue their hot streak, man. They're playing really good basketball at the right time. Knicks were playing really good basketball at the right time until they met the Pacers. And honestly, I wouldn't be shocked to see the Pacers take this series in 5 games as well. They're up 3-1 right now. Next game, do you know if it's in Indy or if it's in New
It
York?
it should be heading back to New York.
Okay, so maybe the Knicks, will be able to scrap another game, but I'm still going to say Pacers in 5, and then on the other side, Thunder and Timberwolves. Thunder just they look like a 1 seed, man. Everything looks easy to them. They're up 3-1 in the series. I think this is going to be a similar tale. I think that they're going to make the NBA Finals in 5 games as well. So I'll take Thunder and Pacers.
So kind of a little opposite scenario with the Thunder Timberwolves series is it's actually Timberwolves or not Timberwolves. Thunder are up 3-1 heading back to OKC. So Minnesota's definitely in a tougher spot.
Yeah.
It's been kind of surprising. I'll flip back over to the Knicks real quick. To me too, I kind of thought that, I mean, they were my preseason NBA champs pick. The Knicks were, after they made the Towns trade and stuff, but I really thought they'd be riding some momentum after knocking off the Celtics. Granted, it ended up being an injured Celtics team with Tatum going down, but it kind of seemed like that was maybe their peak this postseason.
Yeah.
I think they'll win at the Garden, but then I think this series will wrap up with Indiana winning at home at the absolute latest. Wouldn't be surprised if Indiana's able to pull it off for the next game, but I mean, it's been close. It's just Indiana always seems to make the plays when they need to. I mean, Tyrese Halliburton, I don't know if you paid attention or watched last game. He had a triple double. It was like 32 points, something about roughly 10 rebounds, roughly 14 assists. He actually became the only Pacer ever to have multiple triple doubles in the playoffs, which I thought was interesting, considering like they have had quite a few good players come through franchise over the years, but he's just been unbelievable. And in that game, and I don't know if it was true, but I know it was true heading into the final minutes. He had 0 turnovers too. So
Wow.
you just talk about a guy that's doing it all and doing nothing to really cost his team the game. He's just playing really, really, really well, and he's been fun to watch. And the biggest news regarding him is his dad's allowed back at games now. So he was in a suite for this last game, when, ironically, when Tyrese had the triple double, and maybe that gave him a little extra juice. But sounds like he has to stay in his suite, and he's not going to be allowed courtside anymore. His dad, that is. But yeah, I think Indiana will wrap it up. As fun as they've been to watch, and I guess as exciting their last 2 years of playoffs have been, I just don't think they're going to have it in them after this round. I think it's looking like it's going to be OKC, but I think whoever wins the West might run away with the NBA Finals. I feel like it's not going to be a very close matchup with Indiana against OKC or even the Timberwolves. I think both of those teams would be able to handle Indiana pretty easily. Obviously, at this moment, it's looking like it's OKC. We'll see how that series shakes up, but just in general, if you would have said before the season, hey, the NBA Finals are going to be the Indiana Pacers and the Oklahoma City Thunder, people would be like, "What are you drinking?"
Yeah.
You know?
Maybe
Um,
OKC. I mean, I could see people like
yeah,
reasoning with OKC.
yeah. They've been kind of on the come up for a few years, but speaking on them, they've kind of handled Minnesota pretty easily this series. I will say, as someone, and I know we talked about it a little bit when we were texting throughout the week, who hasn't really watched OKC that much. I know the guy just won MVP and he's the talk of the NBA right now, but man, I personally have a hard time watching SGA play basketball, and I can't get behind a guy who's constantly just looking for contact and going out of his way to try and draw contact, and like that's how he's trying to attack, and the refs are giving him a lot of calls too. It's just rough to watch, and it's unfortunate because it should be exciting to watch the Thunder. They're up and coming. They got the MVP. They got a bunch of young pieces, but man, like that's like reminds me of like James Harden on the Houston Rockets, and like I just can't really like it doesn't excite me watching a team like that.
Well, I got good news for you, Sean. If the Pacers make the championship and they're playing the Thunder, you're going to be leaning heavily for the Pacers because your boy Enrique Freeman is a member of the Indiana Pacers.
Yeah, he doesn't even dress, but he's there with the team.
So Sean's going to be leaning heavy. That's a former Akron basketball player. He's a rookie right now. He did finish the season with 2 points and 1.4 rebounds per game. Shot
Hey,
43% from the field. So he's got
that's
some
something.
stats. Yeah.
Back
Um,
in the day, I used to love Jermaine O'Neal too. He was my favorite player for a while, and I should have
yeah.
just been a Pacers fan. My life would
That's
have been a hell of a lot better at this point.
yes, it would have. Yeah, pretty much any team. Um, yeah, I mean, I with SGA, it's like I don't really care too much about that. Like if he's getting the calls, like let's be honest, we would all do the same thing. If refs were giving us fouls, like we would all just try and get draw as many fouls as possible. I feel like that's just kind of like human nature in the sport of basketball. But
No,
um,
not for me. I'd back someone up and just take them to the rack every time.
yeah, okay.
I'll
But
play
I
bully ball.
I think he's good for the sport. I think, a guy like Anthony Edwards is good for the sport. You see a guy like Tyrese Halliburton who's really good for the sport, and then you got Jalen Brunson with the Knicks. It's like, it's kind of cool because these last four teams that are left right now are potential guys that could be taking over the league once LeBron leaves, and you obviously have some guys on the Celtics too, right? Giannis is still in the league, but like I feel like someone like SGA, someone like Anthony Edwards, someone like Tyrese Halliburton could be the face of the NBA, especially if Tyrese is playing the way he's playing right now. Um, it's just kind of exciting for the sport. So I've had fun. I haven't watched a ton of the games. I've kind of just more like tuned in while I'm cooking dinner type of thing, but it's
Yeah,
been fun to watch. And honestly, it feels like basketball's fun again because then you don't have all these super teams, right? Like the Miami Heat when they had LeBron
yeah,
and they had Chris Bosh and they had Dwayne Wade, and like you now have teams that have like two really solid superstars and then they kind of just build around that versus like a trio of three, and then they have nobody else to pay, and their bench is shit. So I've enjoyed that aspect of it.
Yeah,
Anything else?
I feel like kind of going off of that, like for a while, the NBA to me really felt like I'm not, hang on, let me backtrack. The NBA has kind of been hard to watch over the last handful of years. I feel like a lot of people would say the same thing, and a big reason for me was it seemed like every year there were maybe about 4 or 5 teams that had a legitimate shot at winning a championship. Everyone else was either tanking or hoping to get lucky. Maybe now we're starting to see a little bit, like you're saying, a little bit of a gravitation away from that, where we're getting these teams who have a couple of really good players, have really solid depth, have a bona fide superstar or two, probably two, because that's kind of what you at least need to make it work these days. And we're seeing more teams have a little bit better of an opportunity. I mean, assuming they don't blow it up, like the Boston Celtics year in, year out will always be a contender. But I mean, hey, 2 years in a row, Pacers are in the conference finals. I think they can be in that conversation now. Same thing can be said about the Minnesota Timberwolves. OKC, obviously, they're on the come up. I've said that probably 6 times already on this podcast. I personally thought maybe this was a little too soon for them and they would bounce out early, but they've clearly showed they're ready for the moment. But it's going to be interesting too. I mean, and maybe I just like know a little bit more about the Wolves because I follow them a little bit more closely. But they're another team that I just mentioned, but they got decisions that they're going to have to make at the end of this year. Julius Randle's going to be a free agent. He has a player option. I believe it's a player option. We'll likely pick that up, I would think, but you never know. He's playing great basketball right now. They got Naz Reid, who's going to be a free agent. They got Nikhil Alexander Walker, who maybe before the playoffs you thought they could bring him back on a reasonable deal. Now he's playing great. Someone's probably going to pay him a decent amount of money, and that's probably not going to be the Wolves. So, like, and with Indiana, I think Miles Turner is running up on his deal, and he's been rumored to leave for a little bit. So, it's going to be interesting to see how some of these teams navigate upcoming roster decisions. And OKC is a team that, even though they're so good right now, they're named in the mix constantly for Giannis. So who would they break off from their core to be able to make a move like that? Like that's
Yeah.
at least Jalen Williams plus plus plus.
Yep.
Probably a Chet Holmgren and probably a couple picks or more. So it'll be fun to see. Like obviously it's fun watching these teams and seeing what they've developed, but now it's going to be fun to see how they manage their roster and what their moves are going to be moving forward so they can try to keep this window open as long as possible.
I think that's fair, and I think you're being kind by saying like there used to be 4 or 5 teams that could win it all. Honestly, I think in the era of like superstar teams, there was like 2 or 3 teams that legitimately had a chance to win it all. Now you look at this playoff field, you could very reasonably say Thunder have a chance. Nuggets, I feel like they always have a chance to win a
Yeah.
championship. Lakers, you just never know with LeBron. Timberwolves, obviously. You could throw the Rockets in there. Yes, they're very young, but they were a number 2 seed. They had a phenomenal year. Cavaliers, had they been healthy. Pacers clearly making a run. The Knicks, I mean, they made a run up until they met the Pacers. Obviously, the Celtics. So, like, I think I just named like 8, maybe 9 teams right now that actually have a legitimate chance to win a championship, and that's what makes the sport fun again. Is like you just never know. It's kind of just like these teams that have like 1 or 2 superstars, and it's just who gets hot at the right time. It makes for a better NBA in my opinion. Um, Sean, that might have been the most attention we've given the NBA in a little while. I feel like we usually just breeze past it, but we're 14 minutes in almost and still talking NBA. Um, let's dive into some NCAA baseball. Regional play is about to begin. I've got the bracket
Tomorrow.
pulled up. If you want me to run through each region, I have the bracket pulled up here.
Yeah, let's do it to it. NCAA baseball tournament starts tomorrow with regional play. So, for those who might not be familiar with the way it's structured, it's double elimination. So if a team loses tomorrow, they still got a shot, albeit a long shot. But yeah, postseason is about to kick off. So we're gonna go through and we'll make some picks for regionals here. So if you want to go run through that bracket, I'm happy to share my always correct and expertise.
Oh wow. Well, here I'll just do this. For those who are watching on YouTube, you can actually see it with us. All right,
That's
I think
sick.
let's start. Let's start in Nashville here. We've got Vanderbilt, Wright State, Louisville, and ETSU. I'm going to preface it with this: I don't watch a ton of college baseball. I mainly just watch Miami here and there. So like some of these smaller schools, I'm not really too caught up to speed with. I know Vanderbilt has a long history of being good at baseball. I'm going to pick Vanderbilt here.
I was hoping you were going to sell me on Eastern Tennessee
Yeah.
State University. If that's even what their name is, I don't know for sure.
Isn't that
Um,
home of Tariq Cohen?
yeah, yeah, it would be, I think. Or no, he was like NC. I thought he was NC something.
Oh,
Like,
NCA&T.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going Vandy as well. They're the number one overall seed. You talked about them being historically good. It's actually been a few years since they've like truly been the Vandy that they're known for being, but they kind of caught fire towards the end of the season here, so they're playing pretty well. Obviously, it's not necessarily about who's the best. It can be about who's playing well right now, but according to the standings, they are currently the best, and they are also playing well right now. So I think Vandy rolls through that regional pretty easily.
Okay, let's go to Hattiesburg. We've got Southern Miss, Columbia, Alabama, and Miami. I mean, just for fun's sake, I'll pick Miami. I'm going to regret it, but let's go with the Canes.
I think I'm going to take Alabama in this one. I don't know much about Southern Miss. I will say I take one of Alabama or Miami. I'm just rolling with Bama based off of the conference that they played in. They're battle tested. They'll be ready for playoff baseball. So I'm going to roll with the Tide here in this one.
All right, let's go to Tallahassee. This stupid team right here. We've got Bethune Cookman, which feels like they're always playing a Florida school. We've got
Yeah,
Northeastern, and we've got Mississippi State. Unfortunately, I'm gonna take the Seminoles.
I will take Florida State as well. I think they are going to bulldoze through this regional. I think they got
Yeah,
a very, very easy draw. I think
yeah.
they'll just crush everyone.
I unfortunately also think they're the best team in the state. Um, Corvallis. We've got Oregon State. We've got St. Mary's, TCU, and USC. I'm gonna take TCU here. I know Oregon State's probably a heavy favorite, but I'm gonna take the Horned Frogs.
Not a bad pick. I'm gonna go with the Beavers. They got some pop in their bats and they got a few good arms, albeit fairly young arms, but I think they'll be able to get through this regional here. Helps when you're able to play at home too. So I'm rolling with Oregon State.
You just like Beavers, don't you?
Oh yeah, chop wood. If
All
that's what
right.
you call
In Chapel Hill, we've
it.
got UNC, Holy Cross, Oklahoma, and Nebraska. I am gonna take the Tar Heels here.
Yeah, me too. They're a very, very good team.
Yeah.
I think they probably plow through their regional here too. North Carolina's stacked.
Didn't they win the ACC? I know they played for the championship.
Yeah, I'm gonna assume they did if they're ranked fifth.
Yeah. All right. In Eugene, we've got Oregon, we've got Utah Valley, we've got Arizona, and we've got Cal Poly. Let's have some fun with it. I will go with Arizona.
That's who I was gonna take too.
Fuck yeah. Let's go. Conway. I don't even know what state Conway's in, but we're rolling with it. We've got Coastal Carolina, we've got Fairfield, we've got Florida, and we've got East Carolina. Uh, Coastal Carolina's got a sick ass logo. They're also ranked. I'm gonna rock with Coastal Carolina, even though your Gators are really hot right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick Florida. I think they got a pretty lucky draw here. Injuries are gonna catch up to them. They are getting one of their better hitters back. Supposed to be getting them back for this regional. I think their luck's gonna run out at some point, but I don't think it's gonna run out quite this early. So I'm taking Florida in this one.
Okay. Over in Auburn, we've got Auburn. We've got Central Connecticut. We've got NC State, and we've got Stetson. I don't think any of these teams are going to do too much damage. I'm going to take Auburn.
I'm going NC State. I don't know
Oh.
shit about Auburn, but let's go. What's their mascot? Wolfpack.
Finally, you pick an upset. Oh, other than
I picked
Arizona,
a
you picked
few.
Arizona. Yeah. All right, we're over in Austin on the right side of the bracket now.
Texas.
Yep, Texas, Houston Baptist, UTSA, and Kansas State. I'm taking Texas as well. We'll jump to LA, UCLA, Fresno State, shitty ass school, Arizona State, and UC Irvine. I'm going to rock with the Arizona schools. I'm going to say Arizona State.
I was too, but for fun, I'll go with UC Irvine.
All right. The Anteaters, I think, actually. In Oxford, we've got Ole Miss, Murray State, Georgia Tech, and Western Kentucky. Ole Miss baseball been on the map for quite a bit lately. I'm going to take Ole Miss.
I'm gonna go with Georgia Tech. They got some bats in that lineup, and maybe they'll do some damage here this postseason. So, going with the Yellow Jackets.
Interesting. Okay. In Athens, we've got Georgia, we've got Binghamton, we've got Duke, and we've got Oklahoma State. Don't know anything about them, but I'm just really feeling an Oklahoma State run here.
I'm gonna go Georgia.
Okay. In Baton Rouge, I think this one's pretty self-explanatory. We've got LSU, Little Rock, DBU. Dallas Baptist, maybe? Don't know who that is. And then we've got Rhode Island. I'm going to take LSU on this one.
I will too. It is Dallas Baptist. Don't sleep on them.
Okay.
I, in the slightest bit, would not be shocked if they pulled it off.
Does it tell us anything here? No, it's probably just going to give us an article. Anything! And an ad. Okay, we don't need that. I was just curious what the record was on the year. Over in Clemson, we've got USC Upstate, we've got West Virginia, and we've got Kentucky. This is kind of an interesting one here.
Dallas Baptist is 40-16.
No, not bad. I'm going to take West Virginia.
I wanted to take them too, so for the podcast's sake, I'll go Clemson.
Okay. Over in Knoxville, we've got Tennessee, Miami, Ohio, Wake Forest, and Cincinnati. I will take Tennessee.
I will take Tennessee as well.
And then finally in Fayetteville, we've got Arkansas. We've got this really stupid school,
Kansas,
North Dakota State. We've got Kansas, and we've got Creighton. I'm going to say woo pig, go Arkansas.
Yeah, they should run through that regional.
Okay. Sweet. Sean, off the rip, two teams that you think are very likely to win it all this year. If you need me to scroll down, I can scroll down.
I got it pulled up here too. Now I'm gonna have to think like who I fucking picked. North Carolina.
Yeah, that was one of mine.
I hate to say it too, but Florida State's got a squad too.
Yeah, they do.
So I'll go Florida State and North Carolina. They could match up like opening round in Omaha, but I mean LSU's got a squad too. I'm gonna pick three, so LSU, Florida State, at UNC.
Interesting. So you could say that Miami's battle tested too, Sean. So you should have just picked Miami because you got a couple.
Because they played
ACC
one good team.
Two. You got two ACC teams
true.
in there. All right. I'll say Texas. I will say, who else do we got here? Mr. Baseball, Kevin Williams is going to pick Arkansas, and I've been heavy Auburn this year, so I'll say Auburn, even though I know nothing about Auburn baseball. All right, I'm going to stop sharing here, and I'm going to pull up the women's bracket, and we can do our same thing with the women's bracket here. All right. And the women's bracket, they're already set. The college softball World Series is already set. So we actually have the 8 teams that are competing for it. Okay. So we've got, let's get rid of that. Okay. So I'm just going to go down the bracket as it is. So we've got the 3 seed Florida against the 6 seed Texas. Who do you like here?
I like Florida.
Okay. I'm going to say the same. We've got the 7 seed Tennessee and the 2 seed Oklahoma.
Oklahoma is so damn good at softball.
Every single year, dude.
I'm going with Oklahoma.
Yeah, same. 12 seed Texas Tech and unranked Ole Miss.
I'm going to get a little nutty and pick the Rebels.
I kind of like that too. I'm going to rock with Ole Miss with you. We've got Pac-12 matchup. We've got I don't know. They might be Big Ten. I don't know how softball transferred, but 16 seed Oregon and 9 seed UCLA.
I'm going to go UCLA.
I'll take Oregon there. Um,
You
let's
got the
see.
good old unranked versus 16 matchup there, huh?
Since there's only 8 teams left, I'm gonna have you pick one team that you think will win it all.
Well, I'm not going to pick Oklahoma, even though it's probably a pretty good chance they hoist the trophy at the end of the year because that's just what they do. So I'm going to go with Florida. I think the winner of Florida and Oklahoma, whoever makes it out of there, has a very good chance to win it all. So I'll go with Florida.
Our fans didn't see that one coming. I'm gonna
No,
take I'm gonna take Oklahoma here. They've got a
not
rich
a
history.
couple months down the line, I'll have some softball national champion gear on.
Don't forget about
Keep
this right here.
keep stocking up.
They've got home games pretty much every single game because it's in
Yeah,
Oklahoma City. So
I'm
that'll that.
going.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Did you get a whole ass like gator costume?
Look, I'm actually bringing a live gator with me.
Wow.
Yeah.
You should record it so we can
It,
show it on the next podcast.
his name's Paul.
Oh, that's something.
Yeah.
Um, that's all we have for this episode for the national storylines. We're gonna jump over to Chicago. We've actually got more storylines in the Chicago side of things this week. Um, I think the best place to start is let's dive into the Blackhawks hiring their next coach. That looks like they hired Jeff Blashill. Is that how you say his last name?
Yeah. Good job.
Thanks, dude. Biggest hockey fan there is. Hockey and college baseball and softball. All right, Sean. I know. I mean, I saw a lot of tweets. It seems like there's mixed reactions. He was previously a head coach for the Red Wings, but the Red Wings were in a rebuild. I'll let you go into more detail here, but it seems like a lot of the fans are kind of just in like wait and see mode.
Yeah. I personally don't like this hire. If he is a bridge coach where he's only around for a couple of years and they get their guy 2, 3 years down the road, 4 years down the road from now, I think that's totally fine. But this is what worries me about this hire is we're kind of getting to a point where Kyle Davidson only has so many head coaching hires left before he probably has to get fired as the GM. You could argue that this was probably the last hire that he could have if it goes bad. And just knowing that and I'll say this before I dive in a little bit more. I know there are not a ton of great candidates out there. Like I get that. But with that being the case and this being the guy that they ended up with, it just kind of makes me scratch my head a little bit. I think if before the offseason started, before anyone knew that they talked to David Carl, who's the Denver head coach, he was their number one target. If you told Blackhawks fans, hey, you're going to end up with Jeff Blashill at the end of this coaching cycle, they would probably say, holy shit, what happened? But you know how people are. They'll talk themselves into whatever they can to just, kind of cope with what they're dealing with. Now, I do think the team's going to be a little bit better under a different coach. I think Anders Sorensen just didn't cut it, obviously, as an NHL coach. But I probably would have rather, and maybe I'm crazy for thinking this, maybe I'm not. If this was what the route they were going to end up going, I would have rather kept Anders Sorensen at coach and then just figure it out next year. Let's see if we have any better candidates or something like that. I really hope they weren't just hiring to hire, and it kind of feels like maybe they were. And Jeff Blashill, for those who don't know much about him, was the former head coach of the Detroit Red Wings, like Kevin alluded to. He coached there from the 2015-2016 season through the 2021-22 season, um, and went through some of the worst stretches in Red Wings history. Um, Finished with a record of 204 and 204 wins, 261 losses, and 72 overtime losses. One playoff appearance where they lost in 5 games in his first season, 2015-2016. Um, he recently was coaching for the Tampa Bay Lightning as a defensive coach under Jonathan Cooper, who's one of the best coaches in the NHL, if not the. So people are like, well, he probably learned some things from from Cooper that'll be helpful for his second time as a head coach, and they're probably right. But, when I was looking at the Lightning sent out a thank you Jeff Blashill tweet for, and don't get me wrong, Twitter's not always the best place for news, tweet thanking him for his time in Tampa Bay. A lot of fans were very happy to see him leave, which makes me a little worried about that too. But there are some positives for Blashill here. He's kind of known as a guy that can teach good fundamentals, teach good habits, which the Blackhawks quite frankly need. With how young they are and just kind of how sloppy their team has been over the last few years, so they'll benefit from that. He's done a lot of work with younger players. Obviously, we have a pretty young roster, or we're trending towards that. So he'll obviously be familiar with working with, players around the age group that we have. He didn't have the best situation in Detroit, which is maybe putting it a little bit lightly, to be honest with you. But at the same time, too, I just look at what he did in Detroit, and it just makes me scratch my head again, thinking that the Blackhawks think right now this is the guy they want to take over at a pivotal time. We got to see what we have in these prospects. We got to develop these prospects. We got to start getting better. I don't know if that would have been my guy, but at the same time too, I'm not an NHL GM, so I hope I'm wrong. I could be wrong. I hope I am. We'll see. Like I said, if he's a bridge coach and in a couple of years we're getting a better candidate, I'm okay with that. But if they hired him with the vision that he can take this team to the next level, I'm having a hard time seeing that vision, to be honest with you.
What's really interesting is you've got Anders Sorensen, who was the interim head coach. He's now coming back to be the assistant coach, which kind of to me feels like just a weird situation in the clubhouse. And I'm willing to bet he probably was paid more money than he should have been to come back and be an assistant coach because he technically got a demotion. So that situation is definitely one to keep an eye on too, because you don't really see that very often. Usually interim guys who don't get the head coaching job where they were an interim end up going somewhere else. So kind of an interesting thing to keep an eye on for the clubhouse.
Yeah, he was probably looking at maybe going back to Rockford, their minor, we'll call it minor league affiliate for hockey. Um, so he just got paid more to be an assistant, I'm sure. And it sounded like players did kind of like him actually. So I'm sure there were some opinions on whether or not he should stick around.
Well, what's interesting there is I was looking at Rockford too, and like Mark Eaton is the head coach, but he's listed on the Blackhawks website as interim head coach. So it doesn't even sound like they've made their decision on bringing back Mark Eaton as their head coach for Rockford, which maybe that's something that Anders was considering, and now they have to figure out what they want to do. But just a really interesting situation there. Let's talk about the team who plays in the same building on the court instead of the ice. The Bulls, unfortunately, did not move up in the lottery like I had hoped. I was really just laying on it heavy that, we weren't going to get the first pick, but like maybe we'd move up. They're picking 12th, exactly where they were slotted to pick. A really interesting position to be in because you're not really going to get a game changer at this point in the draft. I think there are a couple names that I would be, I guess, more so intrigued by rather than excited. And one of them is there's a lot of smoke with Igor Demon going to the Bulls at number 12. He's a guard out of BYU. I don't know how old he is because I think he played some Euro ball. I don't know if he's an older guy, but he's one name. The other name that I honestly wouldn't mind seeing is Derek Queen, the center from Maryland, especially if we're going to trade Vooch. He'd be a guy that
Yeah.
could fill in nicely for the Bulls. So those are two names that I like. Sean, do you have similar names? Do you have different guys?
Yeah, I kind of think they're going to go big with their draft pick here, and I think I'm going to guess, I'm not going to sit and act like I'm plugged into the Bulls or anything, but I'm going to guess Plan A for them is hoping Derek Queen's there at 12, and I think if he is, that's an easy choice for them. Now I have seen some clips of, and I don't know a thing or two about him. Colin Murray Boyles, the power forward from
Yeah.
South Carolina, met with the Bulls, and he really raved about his meeting with the team. So I'm wondering if he's there, if he's another name that they could look at. He's a sophomore, so a little bit older than your typical draft guy. Derek Queen, to be fair, he's a little bit older than what a freshman typically would be too. But I think I hope they go big. We obviously, unless we do so quite a bit of roster shaking up, we don't really need like to add more guard depth right now. But I think getting like Derek Queen would be fun. I think that's probably like your typical Bulls move, like that'll sell the fans enough to where they'll show up and continue supporting the team, but still kind of wanting more. So I think Derek
Yeah.
Queen would be my number one. Outside of that, I don't really know. I don't really know who else. Asa Newell from Georgia. I'm sure they'll be interested in him. That's another big man. Um, I don't know. The Chase Richardson from Michigan State, if they go guard, like that's kind of a Bulls pick, I feel like.
I mean, okay, don't get me wrong. I think Asa Newell will be a good player in the NBA, but here's why I struggle with that pick. The Bulls' history of developing players is not that great, especially under their current front office. And you can kind of throw Billy Donovan in there a little bit. I mean, he has developed some guys, but like their history of developing guys is not great. And I think if we were to draft a guy like Asa Newell, I don't think you're going to get out of him what you want. Same thing. I feel the same exact way about Carter Bryant from Arizona. I don't think that he'd be a good player for the Bulls. I think he'd be a good player elsewhere. But there's just certain guys where I'm like, it's just a waste of a pick for us for him to come here. Same thing with like Concanupple, the guard from Duke. I think he'll be a good player somewhere else, but with the Bulls, not at all.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add to like NBA draft? I mean, I think we can firmly say Cooper Flag's going to go number one overall, and then you've got a couple of Rutgers guys from there with Dylan Harper or Ace Bailey at 2 and 3. Do you feel like there's a chance either one of those guys could jump Cooper Flag?
No, no, Dallas can't do that. If there were any team that can't do that, it's Dallas. They've been through enough. They got to take Cooper Flag.
You mean they're not going to take Maluak from Duke?
Hmm. Him and
He's
Anthony Davis, yeah, you never know.
Dude, he's a player. If the Bulls were in a position to get him, I'd be thrilled. But all right, well then let's finish it up here. Let's talk about White Sox. They made an interesting decision recently to send a struggling Colson Montgomery to Arizona to work on some of his swing mechanics with the what was it the head.
It's like he's like the director of hitting
Yeah,
philosophy or something.
that's what it is. So since he's come back from Arizona and he took a week off from playing, he's hitting 279. He's got 17 knocks. He's got 6 doubles, 2 home runs, 9 RBIs, 8 walks, 15K, and 16 games. So definitely a better version of Colson Montgomery that we're seeing, and a version that we should have been seeing all along. Now the question becomes, can he keep this up?
I mean, he's doing it over 16 games. This is probably not probably. This is definitely the best 16 game stretch he's had this year. Maybe even the best 16 game stretch he's had in Charlotte and dating back to last year too. So, I mean, I really think with him, it comes down to at least in the moment confidence, and he seems to be pretty confident. So, as long as he's putting the ball in play consistently here, I think we got a good chance of him keeping it up. I was a little skeptical of the whole Arizona thing, but whatever they did, it seems to be working out. I just hope it continues that way. I think I don't know. I think we're getting to a point where 15, 16 games he keeps this up. We're looking at a guy that could get the call to go up to the MLB too pretty soon. So.
Yeah, I think that's
Um,
fair.
I
I
know
mean,
they've already, and we'll talk about it a little bit more because it's a point later on. But like obviously Miguel Vargas has moved around to first base, so that opens up third base for someone. They put Chase Meidroth at second base the other day, so that opens up shortstop as a possibility for someone. So they're definitely seeing where other people can play and where they can put guys in. It seems like lately.
Yeah, and it's giving it's giving Sergio Santos over in Charlotte him interesting scenarios because he's having a lot of guys move up and down too, and like that comes with the nature of being the manager of a AAA team. But I'm just flipping through the roster right now, and I'm like, oh, you've been on the roster, you've been on the White Sox roster, you've been. So we'll see. I mean, I think Kyle Teel's definitely going to make his way up soon. I think Colson Montgomery might even be after Kyle Teel, honestly. Kyle Teel's just kind of on a tear right now. And then, we've got our former first baseman in AAA right now who just hit a home run last night. So that's an interesting scenario. But a guy I just talked about, Kyle Teel, he's recently had a 19-game hit streak. He's been playing phenomenal. He's won, I think, for sure won maybe 2 Player of the Week awards. Over the last 30 games, he's hitting 345, 39 hits, 7 doubles, 5 homers, 19 RBIs, 18 walks, 29 Ks. I don't really know what more they want to see out of this guy. I mean, I know they're trying to be patient, but I feel like you just got to call him up soon.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I don't really know what else he has to show. In Charlotte, he can clearly hit. I think he's a fine catcher. Obviously, he's going to take some development a catcher when he gets up to the MLB and stuff. That's just part of the game. But yeah, it's really, he's getting to a point where he's just kind of forcing his issue. And the White Sox are obviously listening because they have a lot of catchers right now, but they just traded Matt Tice to the Tampa Bay Rays for an outfielder. So there goes one of them. Corey Lee was just activated. That was what the move ended up being, the corresponding move. Um, but I mean, we're getting to a point where, hey, we got to figure this crap out. Edgar Carroll and Kyle Teel need to be in the lineup every day. So that's DH and catcher that one of those guys are going to be filling out. And Kyle Teel's like 23 years old, so at least I think he's 23. Let me double check on that. But
Yeah,
he's just
yeah,
getting ready to the point where like he doesn't need to be in AAA anymore.
yeah.
And I don't know. He had a freaking, like you said, a 19 game hitting streak. Like, what else do you need?
Yeah, he's 23. You're right, and Carroll's 22. He's had a. I mean, he started out pretty hot. Edgar Carroll's kind of cooled down a little bit. I mean, in the last 15 games, he's hitting 216. So
Yeah.
um, it doesn't show how many. Oh no, he's had 5 walks. Okay, so that was a big part of Edgar Carroll coming up to the White Sox too. He was kind of just like a walk machine. He has 7 strikeouts and 5 walks over the last 15 games. So want to see more walks out of him. Kyle Teel will get called up, and I think Sean hit the nail on the head. Between those guys, they'll kind of just split the responsibilities of DH and catcher. Now, the Cali kid, this guy's been really exciting. I low key want to buy his jersey. I don't know why, and I feel like it'd be a bad purchase. But Chase Meidroth, he had a 12-game hitting streak going into Monday's game. The month of May, as of today, he's hitting, and today is Wednesday. He's hitting 299, 26 hits, 4 doubles, 1 bomb, 4 RBIs, 7 stolen bases, 11 walks, and 12 Ks in 23 games. He's been an ideal leadoff hitter for us. He's done really nice in that spot. He just has kind of like that no quit attitude. Like for White Sox fans, it's like it feels like 2005 White Sox vibes. So I love what I've seen from Chase Meidroth. I hope he continues to be a big part of the future, and I kind of want to buy his jersey.
It would not be a bad purchase because that dude's just a pure ball player, like through and through. I really think that he has a spot as a leadoff hitter now and for however long the White Sox have him. He's your picture perfect leadoff hitter. He's got a crazy good approach for a rookie in the MLB. He can take 2 strikes and then put the ball in play, no problem. His contact ability is unbelievable. Not hitting for a ton of power, which isn't the end of the world, but he's hitting and getting on base a lot, and that is exactly what you want out of your leadoff hitter. we are very lucky that we were able to get him as part of that Garrett Crochet trade because when that trade is all said and done, you're looking at Kyle Teel, Chase Meidroth, Braden Montgomery, Winkleman Gonzalez, who no one's even really talking about, but he's
Yeah,
doing really good in AAA.
yeah,
We're looking at another guy like he might get called up soon. We have no bullpen. He might get a chance. So, um, but no, Meidroth, he's great. He's one of those guys you look at right now and you're like, okay, this is who he is. This is a guy that can be part of the team in the future. No questions about it.
yeah. I mean, he's almost hitting 300 in the majors as a rookie, and in my opinion, he got called up earlier than I thought he was going to be.
Yeah, he barely played in Charlotte and he was hurt.
Yeah, and he's 23 too. You know, like he was drafted in round 4. He was picked number 129. He went to San Diego. He's just got that Cali swagger. He's got some sick flow. When he runs the bases and his helmet pops off, and you just see his hair flopping around, I'm like, that's my dog right there. So hopefully he puts together a rest of a nice season for the rest of this season because I think he'd be a really nice piece moving forward.
Yeah, it's about time we have someone wearing a number 10 jersey that can make an impact in our lineup every day.
Yeah, since Alexi Ramirez. Sean, I'm going to let you take this next player because this is a guy that I
I'm
think
all
you're going to
in.
order his
I am
jersey.
all in. I am all in. All aboard. Choo choo. You hear that? That's the Miguel Vargas train coming through. What an unreal turnaround this guy has had. He, I gotta pull up, I gotta pull up his stats. I'm really dropping the ball here. I can't even type his name right because I'm so excited. Um, he got off to a putrid start last year. So Miguel Vargas, for those who might not know, was a guy that the White Sox acquired from the Dodgers in the Michael Kopech, Tommy Pham, Eric Fetty, and whoever else was included in that three-team trade. So we had him for 42 games last year. He hit 104, 2 home runs, 7 RBIs, 17 walks, and 41 strikeouts in 42 games. Now, this year, he got off to a pretty rough start too, and I'm actually going to pull this up for fun
Yeah,
because everybody loves numbers. I
to
know
the
I do.
to the point where like everyone's patience was growing thin with him. Like, I mean, everyone as fans.
So in his first 20 games to start the year, he was hitting 139. He had 0 home runs, 4 doubles, 8 walks, and 21 strikeouts. And this was a guy that, when we got him, was patient, didn't strike out much, put the ball in play, yada, yada, yada. We were getting the opposite. So he was looking like shit again, and he makes the swing change, and all of a sudden he is taking off. Over his last 30 games, so entering today, and I know he had a double today as well. I believe he drove in a couple runs today too. So over his last 30 games and since his swing change, Miguel Vargas is hitting 316 with 36 hits, 9 doubles, 8 home runs, 20 RBIs, 10 walks, and 15 strikeouts. Now, not only is he doing really well, like that's a line that we'll take no ifs, ands, or buts, but when he's getting out too, a lot of his outs they're loud, they're quality outs. He's driving the ball. Like he just looks night and day different. And I know Kevin in particular is a little bit reluctant to buy into it, and I understand that because 30 games isn't a ton, but I just watching him hit and watching just how he looks at the plate, I think this is the kind of the guy that we're going to get moving forward. So, obviously, I told you he was hitting, what was it, like 130 something this year
Yeah,
heading into the season. Um, so now, let me go back to his page. He's gotten his season stats up this year. So in 52 games, he's now hitting 244, getting on base at a 31% clip. 8 home runs, 26 RBIs, 18 walks, 38 strikeouts in 52 games. According to Baseball Reference, worth 1.5 wins right now, which I haven't looked it up. I'm guessing that's the best out of any White Sox hitter this year. Um, Not only that, he's been playing pretty damn good defense too. I I'm all in on Miguel Vargas. I legitimately think this guy's going to be an impact bat for us moving forward. I am really, really excited about how he looks now, and I think we're getting a glimpse of what this dude can actually be. And people forget too, he was a very highly touted prospect before we got him,
Oh,
and
big
before
time.
he came up with the Dodgers too. So maybe we finally tapped into something, and this is the guy he was supposed to be all along. But I'll tell you what, man, I love watching this dude hit right now.
Here's my timing on buying into Miguel Vargas. I want to see him continue to play well after All-Star break. That is my biggest fear with him is they're going to have All-Star break, he's going to have some time off and lose
What if he doesn't
momentum.
though?
And that well then I'm going to buy in. But
No, what
it's
if he doesn't have time off?
oh
You
cuz he's
don't
an
you don't see where
All-Star.
I'm going.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
it's a conversation at this point.
Okay. My question to you is, what kind of power do you think like, assuming he's going to continue playing it with these numbers, like, are we talking like 30 home runs a year? Are we talking
No,
40,
no,
40? Are we talking 80 home runs a year? Like, what are we talking
no.
about here?
150.
So
No,
you
I
think
think we're
probably somewhere in like the 20,
yeah,
25
yeah.
range, maybe
I
like
think
a
20 to
80 RBI guy.
I think 20 to 25 home runs would be I think that'd be fair. And I think that's kind of the peak of maybe what we're looking at. He might not get, you know, all of full 2024, but I got to look this up too because he's got 14 doubles already this year. I'm going to guess that's pretty high up among all major league hitters. So give me a moment here while I keep just loving this dude.
And to
I'll
give you
select
guys an
this.
idea too, like his last 15 games here, this is what Sean's talking about. So he has had 6 home runs, 14 RBIs. He's actually taken 3 walks, which is decent for him. He doesn't take a lot of walks. His average has been 311. His on base has been 348, and his slugging has been 721. So last 15 games, he's put together a really nice like last couple weeks. I mean, even in the last 30 games, the numbers are very similar: 310, 8 home runs, 20 RBIs. He actually has 12 walks in the last 30 games. So this is a guy who we're hoping is finally turning that page and becoming the player that he should have been. Because I want to say he was like a top at one point. He was like a top 10 prospect
I
in
want
baseball.
I want to say like top 18.
Yeah. Okay. So let's call it top 20 prospect in baseball. Um, should have been a really good player. Might have just struggled to get going, and maybe they found something here with him.
So I figured it out. He has 15 doubles on the year, and that is currently five off the MLB lead, which is 20, and that's Bobby Witt Jr.
Hmm.
Now, I also want to look because I'm telling you, this guy's going to have a case to be an all-star. I'm I'm in. I am all the way in. Let me find this
he's
here. American League.
he's got to have a
Among
shit ton of multi-hit games because still, I mean, his batting average being 245 is a little tough.
He's second in American League for third baseman for doubles. Only Bregman's ahead of him. He's tied for fourth with home runs. He's tied for fourth in RBIs. He's
Got some work to do.
tied for sixth in hits. Like it's not out of the realm to think if he keeps it up heading into All-Star break, like it's most likely going to be Shane Smith, who's our All-Star, but he might be in Miguel Vargas might be in the conversation too.
One more guy I think we should talk about. This is really interesting because you and I kind of shit on this guy quite a bit. But like honestly, he's putting together a pretty nice season. And if he's like a utility, like multi-tool type of player,
Lenny Sosa.
I think I'd be okay with it. Yeah, Lenine Sosa, man. He's hitting 280. He's got 4 bombs. He's got 17 RBIs. He's had a couple like timely hits so far this season. I don't know if he changed anything with his swing mechanics or what changed, but he's putting together a pretty nice year too.
Yeah, I actually was kind of doing a little dive into his stats and stuff, and I thought that he is having a quiet, pretty damn good year. Do you want? I was just raving about Miguel Vargas and looking at his numbers among third basemen, like Sosa's doing very, very well considering the rest of the group at second base too.
Yeah.
Now I don't think we're looking at all these guys being all-stars or anything like that, but they're clearly, you know, pushing themselves towards that top tier of their position. And I mean, for a team that's rebuilding and really hasn't had hope for a while, like it's pretty exciting to see what some of these guys are doing now.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I think Sosa, maybe he's a trade candidate. Maybe they say, hey, we really didn't have plans for this guy to be anything and he's turned into something. So maybe they trade him, or maybe they use him as a utility guy. They use him as a bench piece or a pinch hitter every now and then. But yeah, he's been a pretty good development this year too.
He's just got to work on. He's only got 5 walks this whole year, and he's got 43 strikeouts. So that
Yeah.
he's got to work on a little bit. That's kind of a red flag. But I mean, still, for him to hit 280, that's far and away the best season he's had as a member of the White Sox so far. So it's nice to get that from him because, to be honest, like the White Sox infielders are, and you have to remember, like this is before Chase Meidroth got called up. We're dealing with like Josh Rojas. We've got obviously Miguel Vargas before he was hot. We now have Vinny Capra. Who was the other guy that got Amaya? Like we're just dealing with guys that don't really belong on even our major league roster. So to see a couple of them put it together, as well as some prospects being called up, it's kind of making the White Sox have like more of like a scrappy feel. They're not going to have a good season. We're going to finish with a top pick again, but like at least like if we can be exciting and like feisty or scrappy, like at least makes it watchable.
Yeah, and I
Um,
think that I think the team has been watchable for the most part. It just gets ugly when we have to go to that bullpen. And this is what they get for not really investing a dollar into the back end of the bullpen. But we probably have some guys coming up, I would guess, relatively soon that will get some chances, and then that'll at least give us the intrigue of, oh, this guy's new, let's see what he's about, versus, seeing Cam Boozer go out there and get lit up or whoever the case may be for that particular game.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're looking at like, I'm sorting by ERA here. Oh, it's not going to work for me, of course. For the Charlotte Knights, like you've got a guy like Addison Coffey. I feel like he's been with Charlotte for the longest time. He's got a 3.8 ERA. James Karinchak, the former Cleveland Guardian, he's got just barely a 3 ERA. Jared Schuster had a sub 2 ERA down there. Winkelman Gonzalez, the guy that Sean's talking about, he has a 1.42 ERA down there. Steven Wilson, he just came back up with the White Sox. He's been pitching pretty well. So you've got a bunch of guys down here. Some guy named Evan McKendry, never heard of this dude, sub 1 ERA. He's got a .93. These are guys that you could see start to get called up soon because the White Sox bullpen has been shit, and it's a low risk, high reward type of situation. So maybe some guys to keep an eye on. Last thing we're going to talk about is something that me and Sean were kind of surprised to hear and glad to hear. Andrew Vaughn was sent down to AAA, and I can try and pull up his stats really quick on where he was at for the year because it was ugly. It seemed like he was a rookie who got called up too early and just was not ready to play in the bigs. That's kind of been like what the way that he's appeared, at least through like an outsider's lens. Okay, here it is. This season, he was batting 189. He had 5 home runs. Mind you, this is a guy who's known for his power. And 19 RBIs. Trying to see if I can pull out. Last 30 games, he had 3 walks and 25 strikeouts. Just horrendous play from Andrew Vaughn. Love that they sent him down. Really interesting to watch the situation and see what comes of it. I'm sure he'll make his way back up, but I kind of don't really have hope for Andrew Vaughn anymore at this point.
No, I think they would have released him if they knew some team would pick him up, but I don't think anyone would have taken him on. He's making like $5 million this year, and that's like honestly $5 million too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, we had Tim Elko up for a bit. He was definitely streaky. Would have liked to see him get a little bit more of a look to see if he would start heating up and turning a corner, but
Yeah.
um, we just don't really have a clear immediate answer at first base, and it seems like right now the band-aid they're throwing on it is putting Vargas over there. Um, but yeah, I think it's definitely Vaughn deserved to go down to Charlotte based off his performance. Um, I don't know, like he won't be back on the team next year, and I honestly don't know if we'll see him up with the big league club again this year. And if we do, it might be because of an injury or something. But I just think maybe they're kind of like, hey, this is a lost cause, and maybe you can inflate your numbers in Charlotte, and someone will sign you after the season, but it ain't gonna be us.
I'm trying to pull up his draft class and see, like, because he was drafted number 3 overall. Um, let's see. Do you remember what year that was?
It was Spencer Torkelson's year. I'm gonna say like 2021, maybe.
2019 MLB draft results, just to see like who we could have actually landed that would have. Here, I'll just share my screens. Oh, okay, this is this sucks so bad. This hurts to do, but you know what? It's fun for the people. Um, Here, let's do this. Okay. So for the people that aren't watching on YouTube, Adley Rutschman went number 1 overall. Bobby Witt Jr. went number 2. I think they obviously would have taken him if he was available. Andrew Vaughn went number 3. You've got a guy like Riley Green, who's been playing well with the Tigers, went 5. CJ Abrams, who's a stud, went 6 overall. Josh Young, kind of interesting. Nick Lodolo, he's had a pretty good season, or pretty
He's
good.
been awesome this year.
Yeah, he's had a pretty good career so far. Alec Manoah, pretty well known. Corbin Carroll went 16th overall. There's a lot of really like impressive names. I mean, especially at the
Greg
top.
Jones, what up?
Who? Oh,
Greg
Greg.
Jones,
Oh God, yeah, we had him on the roster too.
Anthony
Um,
Volpe, Michael Bush, Corey Lee. Always get our man.
yeah, compensatory
I,
picks.
if I remember correctly, Gunnar Henderson.
Wow,
Oh, no, he went right before Matthew Thompson, who's no longer on the team.
is he really not?
Um, no, they traded him a while ago.
That's bad.
Actually, I don't even think he's playing professional baseball anymore.
Jesus Christ.
If I remember correctly, the White Sox did also really like C.J. Abrams in that draft.
Well, what would have been?
Yep,
That's bad. There's a lot of really interesting names on here, like Ryan Pepio. He's pitching pretty well. Spencer Steer for the Cincinnati Reds.
he's been terrible this year.
Yeah, he had a good season last year, though, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he
Wow,
did.
interesting. But yeah, I mean, just looking back at like Andrew Vaughn's draft, like had Bobby Witt fallen, that would have been like the ideal situation. But you could have gone and grabbed like C.J. Abrams, and he would have been a really nice piece moving forward, especially because Tim Anderson. And we can talk about that really quick, actually. Uh, we don't have a shortstop anymore because Tim Anderson just decided to suck at baseball. Did you see the news on him today?
No.
He was he was released. He was released by the Angels, which is pretty telling because I mean, the Angels first and foremost grabbed just about every former White Sox possible. They just grabbed Oscar Colas too.
Yeah,
Um,
they
but
did.
Tim Anderson, I think he was hitting like 210 or something like that this year, and man, it seemed like he was going to be like one of the future faces of baseball at one point. He's hitting 205, no home runs, 3 RBIs. Just really, really rough season. And honestly, he might just want to call it a career at this point because that's pretty bad.
hmm Yeah, the only place that'll probably sign him at this rate is Colorado.
Yeah, seriously. Unless the Rays are just like, hey, we see something, we can fix it because, they're good at that stuff. Um, Anything
Don't
else,
they
Sean?
already? Don't they already have Eloy?
Yeah, they do. I forgot about that. I wonder how he's
I'm
doing.
curious how he's doing. Let's look at that. We're just reminiscing here. Eloy Jimenez. How are you doing, buddy? Probably terrible if I had to guess.
Wow, dude, he doesn't have that many home runs. He's hitting in the minors 270, which isn't bad. He only has 2 home runs, 26 RBIs. I'm trying to see what his
37 games. So
13
he must
walks,
be hurt.
28 strikeouts. Yeah, not bad. I mean, I don't know if he'll necessarily get called up. I think they need to have some injuries, but I don't know. Maybe he'll have a late bloom, even though he's technically been in baseball. Let's see, minors like 2017 is when he first hit the minors. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. I think he's probably done. He should just like ask to like go in the home run derby and like be the Mac McClung of baseball.
I was always hoping that we would get him in a home run derby because I think that'd be sick.
That would have been sick, but not anymore. All right, y'all. Well, that's all we have for tonight's episode. We are, again, reminder, we're going to be doing this every 2 weeks now, just while kind of sports is on a little bit of a slower skid here. So we will see you guys in 2 weeks. But as always, thanks for listening, and we'll talk soon.